Investigating places where people once lived, or habitation sites, can tell archaeologists a lot about how those people might have lived. Using methods of scientific inquiry, archaeologists study shelters, along with photos, oral histories, and artifacts to try and figure out how people lived in the past. Hi, I'm Scott McFall, an archaeologist with the Bureau of Land Management, and our federal public lands have some great examples of historical structures ripe for archaeological study. So let's jump in. Here at the Yellow Dog Mine, near the town of Quartzsite, Arizona, we have 3 exceptional structures from the old Arizona mining days. The people who lived here built 2 cabins and an outhouse that are still standing today. It can be rare for archaeologists to find historical sites with still standing structures. So, what can archaeology tell us about the people who lived here and what their lives might have been like? Well, let's look at the data. Many people think archaeologists collect data by digging at a site, but that's not always necessary, especially in cases like this, where the data is still right here on the surface for us to look at. First, let's consider the building materials. The walls have been cobbled together by an assortment of gathered plywood scraps. The roofs are made of scrap sheets of corrugated tin. If you look around this hot Arizona desert, you won't see many trees. Without any lumber, these humble miners had to search elsewhere for materials to build their homes. They had to be resourceful, meaning they had to use what little they had in the best way that they could. It shows the amount of hard work and adaptability necessary to make it in this rugged desert. A huge question for archaeologists is when these people lived here. And an important feature we can look at to learn that information is something that still holds all of our homes together today. It's the nail. In many historic structures, nails can be the only thing left after everything else is decomposed. So they're very important to archaeologists. Even here, though, they still hold valuable information about when the shelter was built. The nails holding together the Yellow Dog cabins are called cut nails, because each nail is cut from a longer piece of metal wire. You may recognize them as the same style of nail we use today. They were first produced in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, so we can assume this structure was built sometime after 1900. What can the overall layout of the site tell us about how the people lived here? Well, if we zoom out and look at the site as a whole, there's more to learn from the way these structures are laid out and how they relate to one another. For example, even if there wasn't a crescent moon on the side of this outhouse, we could probably guess at the purpose of this structure, given how far away it is from the other 2 cabins. If you've ever been in a porta potty, I'm sure you know why the outhouse is so far away from the 2 homes. Just behind the shacks, a short distance from the door, we have a garbage pile. Though garbage to archaeologists is important data used to discover who these people were, what they used, what they ate, and how they lived. It may seem unpleasant to us to have a pile of garbage so close to our back door, but when we look at what the houses are made of, perhaps this pile of trash is just a collection of unused building or repair materials. Given the remote nature of the area, these miners had to hold on to everything they had, including every scrap of wood and metal they could find. We've already seen how archaeology can teach us about the past, but what can these mining cabins teach us moving into the future? As we can see, reusing and recycling was simply a way of life, a matter of survival. The resourcefulness and zero-waste attitude on display here is something we can learn from as we try to discover new sustainable ways of building and living. Now, if we look just a half mile down the road, we'll find some more historic structures. This site is called the Granite Mountain Cabins. And I'm sure you can see right away, these are quite different from Yellow Dog, as these buildings are made of stone. A much more arduous and difficult task, the builder would have gone into the desert and hauled back each rock, some of them certainly quite heavy. This builder was none other than Joseph Kone, a local legend and artist who built these shelters in the 1920s. He was a well-known and beloved member of the local Quartzsite community. The High Jolly Cemetery, where he is buried, shares these words about him. Known as the man who wore skirts in the summer, he was a philosopher, woodworker, a wise and loyal friend, a deckhand on sailing ships, and had long gray hair tied back with ribbon. Known as Nature Boy, he was a local landmark. He made his home from a depression in the side of the mountain, digging into the mountainside for its rooms and walls. His second home was built above ground with the sides and intricate rockwork. When we study these rocks, we can instantly recognize that these walls are much sturdier than those at Yellow Dog Mine. Kone still had to be resourceful though, using glass bottles and tin cans for wall insulation. The attention to detail used in construction shows that these buildings were meant to be more permanent than those of the Yellow Dog miners, who might have only lived there occasionally while they were working. Between the 2 stone buildings, we see a difference in wall finishing that can clue us into their different uses as shelters. One has smooth interior walls, and the other is just rough rocks on the inside. This smooth-walled house was Joseph's living space. This rougher large building was his workshop, where he created art by carving wood. The houses themselves are works of art too, with each stone clearly selected for its own unique color, texture, shape, and size. The walls create a mosaic of vibrant mineral diversity. We can also see the eye-popping bright white quartz used to line the corners and windows, adding no structural support but greatly increasing the visual appeal of the house. People who lived at these two sites were here at similar times, and they may have even interacted. But neither the Yellow Dog miners nor Mr. Kone are here to tell us their stories. So we can use their shelters to learn a good bit about how different people in similar situations can lead very different lives. And I hope these shelters have given you a better idea of how archaeologists can learn about people in the past by investigating the structures and objects they leave behind.